a lot of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, how you doing?
I'm good. Another 24 hours and 2 more changes in tournament venues.
Yeah. You know, we were talking before the show. A guy from the past by the name of Frank Scalish.
Yeah.
His phone might be ringing off the wall. Certain individuals, maybe.
Yeah, Charlie would be a good one, too.
Yeah?
Hartley.
Yeah. But Frank, and we're talking about Frank Scalish, former Elite Series pro that was around in the early years.
You were buddies with him.
Yeah.
Like, he took you out and fished the Great Lakes a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah, Frank was really, really, really good on the smallmouth fisheries, the big water. And they're going to Sandusky, man.
Yeah, they were originally going to Detroit for the final mega tournament, super tournament, Tackle Warehouse, FLW Pro Circuit Super Tournament. That's going to Sandusky instead of St. Clair. And then the Tackle Warehouse FLW Pro Circuit Championship, called the Title, presented by Toyota, is now going to be where the BPT just was.
Sturgeon Bay.
On Sturgeon Bay, as opposed to the St. Lawrence River, where it was scheduled in August, which is where the Elite Series are this week, but they're out of Clayton instead of out of Waddington,
right? Because
they had to make that move,
right?
So,
hey,
man,
go. They're trying to get them in.
Will the smallmouth fishing, I wonder, on Sturgeon Bay be as good for the Tackle Warehouse Title, which you remember these guys fish the BPT anglers who fish the final 3 of the super tournaments are not eligible to make the title. So you're talking the top 50 from the pro circuit who fished all 6 of the pro circuit events will go to the title. Now they fish the 5-fish format to get there, but once they get there, the title will be in every fish counts, catch, weigh, release format.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say no. And here's why. Unless they put the trailering rule in there, I think weather will play a huge factor. And I don't even know what the forecast is, dude.
Yeah.
I think the whole trailering thing made it much, much more conducive to catch the fish that they caught because of the trailering rule.
I agree.
All right. And I think that will have a huge, huge factor on where these guys find fish, the runs that they have to make on the big water. Could have a dramatic impact on what goes down at Sturgeon Bay if they don't have the trailering rule in there.
And now you mentioned the trailering rule, and the Elite Series obviously not allowed to trailer. However, with the move from Waddington to Clayton, and the fact that they cannot go into Canada, Clayton, they're obviously closer to Lake Ontario, where the year that they were allowed to go into Lake Ontario, Brandon Polinick obliterated everybody. And most of those guys make an hour-plus long run down to the Clayton area at the mouth of Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
Not all of them. There's guys who've caught them right there in front of Waddington, but the majority of the big bags come from there. Those guys have been out there practicing. I believe this is, their 3rd and final day of practice?
That is correct.
3rd day. I'm trying to pull up the schedule here.
Yeah.
I looked at the weather for Clayton. Now, it has been, and we're talking about the Elite Series, it has been windy. A lot of windy pictures popping up.
Yeah.
From those guys that are preparing for the Elite Series tournament. And all 86 did pass the COVID test, by the way. So today, 4 mile an hour winds. Tomorrow, 5. Thursday, 6 miles an hour. 5 miles an hour on Friday. 7 miles an hour on Saturday. And then a front blows in on the rest of the weekend. So what that means is the lake's going to play.
It's manageable.
And it takes a day or two. And I've fished out there several different times just after the tournament. I've been out there with Travis Manson a number of times. I've been out there with Zaldane a couple times. And yes, I am name dropping because that's proof that I've been out there with guys who know what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
I've also been out there with Cliff Crochet. So that evens it out. What do you mean the smallmouth live around the buoys? So the residual wind is going to lay down, and these guys have a massive amount of water that they could fish in Lake Ontario, and they're going to absolutely drill a mark. And they're going to get to fish, and they're going to get to make their long runs, and they're going to have sunny, calm conditions on the Great Lakes where 6 and 7 pound smallmouth, which we didn't see on Sturgeon Bay, are going to come in. And you're talking about Polinick, the Johnson brothers, Gustafson, Chad Pipkins, Cliff Perch. You're talking about guys who know how to catch smallmouth on probably the greatest smallmouth fishery. You take out Simcoe and stuff like that. But tournament waters, as far as size and numbers with the right conditions, we might see 100 pounds.
Might. Yes, we could. In fact, based upon the weather conditions, I'm going to say we will see 100 pounds.
First 20 fish, all smallmouth, 100 pounds wins it.
I think so. What do you think?
It's really hard to do 25 a day, 4 days in a row. But it's also really easy to do 25 pounds a day.
All right, are they in the 90s?
Can you do it for 100%? I think 90s is
so they will
out
be
the
close
window.
then. They will definitely be close.
Seth Fighter. You got to throw Fighter in there. And Zaldane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be ridiculous.
All right, here. I want to let everybody know. I tried to do something somewhat unique, but we've done it before a couple of times. I tried to get a couple of guys on while they're practicing, but it just didn't work out from a cellular
bad cell
service up there.
Oh, and Jamie
horrible.
Hartman. Don't forget Jamie Hartman.
Yeah, good point. So I really did try to get somebody that is actually practicing to see if we could talk to him for a few minutes, but the cell service up there is just absolutely atrocious in some of the areas. So we were not able to get one of the Elite Series guys on to kind of describe what's taking place. But we will continue, obviously, to try and.
I think are they doing the off day thing tomorrow? I believe that they are.
Yeah, we'll try and touch base with one of the guys that I was in touch with tomorrow, just to get a little update on what their thoughts are and whether or not the century mark will be captured during this week on the SLR. Let's see here. Anything else? Any other changes? I think that was the big announcement, the movement of those two events to Sandusky and to Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. Thursday at noon, 75 degrees, sunny, 5 mile an hour winds. Well, I'm looking at this schedule now. Sunday is going to be a little bit of a different rodeo because you have scattered thunderstorms with 10 mile an hour winds.
Yeah.
But to get 3 days in a row where it looks like it's going to be very manageable. Yeah. Saturday at noon, 4 mile an hour winds, 80 degrees.
You couldn't ask for better conditions on that.
Yeah, they deserve those 3 days after all the things that they've changed in the practice they've been through the last couple days. And then you throw on top of that the ESPN2 coverage.
Man, perfect situation. I mean,
with the scenic backdrop.
Yeah. Can't wait to see what happens. All right. Matt in Alabama on the instant feedback. He has an interesting question, Matt. He said, with the trailer rule, is there a penalty if an angler exceeds the speed limit and breaks a traffic law. In other words, what would happen if he got a ticket going from one area to another?
I think it would just kill his time. I see what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
typically you get a penalty, like if you are speeding in a 35 mile an hour zone, or you blow a no wake area or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that applies. I have no
Interesting-
idea.
Interesting question.
I mean,
though.
listen though. Okay, so if you're in a team tournament that allows trail, like a Lauder Pits or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And you get a ticket on your way back to weigh in, and you fall a cove, that's just on you, right?
Yeah, but that's not a national.
Right, but I'm just
level
saying a lot of
sort
them are parallel.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
James would know. We'll ask him.
Have no idea. BTL color is out, man, and available.
Oh, for the big bite baits? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's available yet.
Oh, it's not on the website yet?
I'll check. I know it's out. So it's a combination. It pays a little bit of homage to the old school BTL. I'm looking to see. Do we have any of the old? Oh yeah, we kind of do. I'll get the hat real quick.
No, that's the purple and yellow. That's not it.
Yeah, it's got that purple. It's Junebug on one side.
Oh, I know, but it's not the green.
No.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's got the green on the edges though.
Yeah.
So it's black and chartreuse, black and kind of green chartreuse.
BTL green.
On black on one side, like Junebug candy on the other side, and then chartreuse down the
It's
middle.
got red flake in it.
Yeah, I posted a really good close up picture of it on my Instagram at Matt Pengrek.
Yeah.
And it will be available very soon. I know that they are pouring it. I was supposed to have one in studio.
We're going to give some away, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. That's the plan.
I'm looking it up right now. But yeah, it turned out way better than I ever thought that it would, didn't it, for you?
Really cool.
Let's see. Choose.
Is it on the website?
Choose a color. BTL coming soon.
Okay,
Not
still
yet, but they
coming
have poured it. You can get on there on Big Bites, social media, my social media, Brad's social media,
Yeah.
pictures of the BTL color.
Yeah.
I
Can't
guess
wait to
it's selling
give some
pretty good,
away.
I guess. I mean, Brad and I were kind of worried, like, hey, Brad
I like it.
designed this thing, and then if it just sucked, we'd be like, man, this would be good. But gotten a lot of good feedback. Really appreciate, really like to see the guys who are out there catching them and how they're using the bait, different rigging setups. It's I don't know if I should say it, but I had a listener who he's throwing it on the Tokyo rig.
Huh.
So then,
Have you thrown that?
Have not ever even tied one on. Have you?
No.
It's probably the next.
I would think that you would have, though. You being the tinker.
Yeah, it makes sense. It is. It's basically a little 3-inch drop shot rig, which we know how much I like to throw that beefed up little drop shot rig around. And how effective that is, but that little bait, I guess, works perfect behind it.
Yeah.
Dave's been catching some, punching deep hydrilla on the Cooper River with it.
Huh. Now, folks, I got to tell you this real quick. Matt threw out something for tomorrow, and last week he fished with Jeff Miller.
Now I fish with Jared Miller.
Or Jared Miller. Sorry, Jeff is his dad, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. On the Wednesday nighter at Lake Thunderbird. And this morning, Matt's got to get some stuff done to his trailer. And he's like, hey, man, tomorrow, can you go do this? Can we drop the boat off? And then I take the trailer. You can fish for a little bit. And then when we come back and we pick up the boat, do you want to fish the Wednesday nighter? I started thinking, dude, when was the last time you and I fished an event together? Can you remember?
Together?
I mean, even a little club jackpot, whatever.
The
fruit
last
jar.
time we did that would have been, and this is sad because I can't remember anything on a day-to-day basis, but I can remember 8-10 years ago when we fished the North OKC Club Derby on Lake of the Arbuckles.
I don't even remember.
And your batteries went bad. And in the middle of the tournament, we had to pull the boat out, drive in, and put new batteries in the boat, and then come back and put in.
Was that 10 years ago?
Yeah, I remember.
least?
I caught one on a square bill on the flats going up to that one creek, and then I caught one on a 4.5-inch bass strix over a brush pile, and those are the only 2 keepers that we caught.
Okay,
that day.
I believe if we fish tomorrow, there's a good chance we'll fish tomorrow, that this will be the first tournament that I will just be in the back of the boat going, all right, dude, whatever.
Right.
Get after it.
100%.
We've never fished with you taking the lead, you making all the decisions, and me just sitting in. I am going to thoroughly enjoy it if we do this.
Well, it's just going to be chucking a worm at a brush pile.
I know.
Over and over again for 3 hours.
but
Like you
still.
need 2 rods. Like when
Kinda
I went
like-
with Miller, I had 3 rods,
Yeah.
1 pack of hooks, and my weight box.
Well,
That was it.
When I went with Brad, I had 3 rods.
Yeah.
And that was
That's
it.
all you need.
And 1 box. 1 little flat box of weights and worms. But we have not fished together for 10 years, and we've never fished together where Matt was the lead and on the trolling motor most of the time.
He says here, they give Holman all the BFE credit. What's up with that? Well, Brad's won 2 tour events. He is been flipping longer than I have been alive, and he had some elements in the bait that he definitely wanted to get in. So, yes, Brad did design that bait. You could watch it exactly how it all came together. His daughter drew it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Brad's bait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did some stuff along the way, a lot of... I had a part in it, but
You
it's
did.
Brad's.
You
It's
did.
what I'm just saying. It is Brad's flipping bait.
Yeah. I like, what was the tagline, the little profile that they had on you? You and Brad?
BTL co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have caught them. Geez, they should give you a little bit of credit. Caught
They
'em a
did
little bit.
on Tackle Warehouse. What did it say again?
I don't know. You've caught them a little bit. Hadn't.
Just not consistently.
And you've had your
I have
moments,
one
though.
a year that just keeps me in it. That's the problem. I either need to just have 3 crappy years or like a couple really good years, but I catch them just good enough in a couple tournaments to always give me. You know what I'm saying on that, Mark?
Yeah, it's that way in so many other aspects, too. Golf.
Oh, I
go
thought
out-
you meant in my life.
No.
It's like, you know me well.
No. Think about it in golf. You go out, you shoot 90, you shoot 89, you shoot 88, and then all of a sudden you pop a 77. You're like, oh, maybe a 75, maybe a 73. I can play a little bit. Then the next time you go back out and you balloon up to a 92 with 4
It
triples.
says that, well, my headsets just fell off. I'm like holding it with one ear now. It says they're all in stock on Tackle Warehouse, too.
The BFEs?
9 of the 10 colors, yeah.
Not the BTL
No,
color.
Bedlam is, though.
No, very nice. All right. So, got a good show today. We're going to have James Elam on.
He kind of came up along the same time that I did. Just as far as like in the same, he fished like for OSU, rookie year on the Bassmaster Elite Series in 2013, the same year that my collegiate partner Chip Porcher, who's now in the industry, he was a Elite Series rookie that same year. Quiet a couple years and then just consistently got better and better and better. And then before you know it, he's been doing it 10 years and he's an established touring pro with a sponsor portfolio who's top 10 in and a threat to win. And
Well, he had a clutch performance this past week, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to
get
him
into
on.
the Red Crest on.
Because where has he had an enormous amount of success on?
Grand Lake.
And where's the Red Crest?
Grand Lake. I also want to ask about Eufaula. I think like 6 or 7 years ago, he caught like a 9-pound smallmouth out of Eufaula. Maybe it was an 8-pound smallmouth.
He won an Open on Grand, won an Open on Fort Gibson, and then he won the Angler of the Year end of the season event on, what's that weird named lake? I don't remember.
There's a bunch of them.
I don't know. It begins
Up
with
north?
a C. Yeah.
Not Cayuse.
Chatoog. Yeah. that's it.
Chatoog in Georgia. Yeah, that's a wild lake.
Yeah.
It's got like every species.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a break. Come back here on a Tuesday with James Elam. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need a 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
Blue Water by TH Marine, offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Hey everybody, Tide Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday. And forgot to mention some other news, Matthew.
No Open.
Yeah.
At least on Oneida in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so.
They're going to run out of weeks. I mean, you only got so many weeks. They're going to run out of weeks eventually.
Yeah, man. It's getting tough. Getting tough. I don't know. Are they going to try and reschedule it, or
that's what they said? This is for the Eastern Opens, which, you know, Brad Hallman, big implications there. He's fishing all 8 of them. There's a number of those guys that are, not to mention the 200 plus that are out there that were going to fish it. So
yeah, we'll see, man. We'll keep plugging away. See what they come up with on this. They're kind of running out of places to go too.
Yeah.
When you throw in all the factors involved.
I hear they're biting on Sturgeon Bay.
Would that be considered the East?
Well, if you look at Bass's creative scheduling on what they consider the East and the Central and all that, I mean, the geographical location has never stopped him before.
I'm with you. All right, let's bring in our special guest today. As we mentioned, had a clutch performance last week on Sturgeon Bay to make his way into the Red Crest field, of which will take place on one of his go-to lakes, his favorite lakes, being Grand Lake here in Oklahoma. So let's bring him in now. James, you there, man?
I'm here, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool stuff. Man, nice backdrop there out where things happen, where you get your stuff ready in your shop. And I'm sure stuff is a little chaotic as far as the return from Sturgeon Bay.
You can see that right there. I'm getting ready for the next event, the FLW Super Tournament. We'll fish on the Mississippi River, and the boat's in shambles right now. And I'm doing a 180. I'm getting all the drop shot, smallmouth stuff out, and getting ready for largemouth. So a lot of work goes into it. I could piddle for 3 or 4 days in a row if I wanted to, but a lot of other stuff has to get done also besides that. But just coming off Sturgeon Bay and healing up from all the big waves and getting ready for the next event.
All right, I want to talk about this mentally. We talk about the mental part of the game on this show a lot with a lot of the pros, and you had to have a good event to put yourself into position to where you make the Red Crest on one of your favorite bodies of water. Mentally, did you put more pressure on yourself? Did you just kind of ease into it? Was there more preparation than normal, realizing the importance of this event for you to get into Red Crest?
There was a lot of pressure, and it was a really weird year, so things were just different all the way around. But I felt really good about going up north and fishing for smallmouth, putting a drop shot and a Ned rig in my hand, and I'm gonna find them. That was my outlook. That was my confidence level. When I go up north in the summer, I just know what I'm gonna do, and it's just a matter of me finding them. And I practiced very hard. And luckily I was in Group A for that tournament. So I even had a good plan for that to get the first day started off really well. And then I did different things, the second and third day of the tournament to keep, catching them. So I really kind of try to block out like all the nerves and all that stuff, because that'll always bite you when you're fishing. You just got to almost go into it and work as hard as you can, but not care at the same time, but care, go through the process and do all the things you should do and make good decisions. But, don't get wrapped up in all the, the nerves and all that stuff, the things that can affect you in a negative way. But it was on my mind. I knew I was close. I was barely in on Red Crest, like barely. And it turns out I had to have like a 25, or above finish, or like a 25th place or 27th or something like that. So I did have to do pretty well, and I had to catch him the third day. I couldn't have just showed up and got 40th place. So it is kind of nerve wracking, but at the same time, I felt good about the tournament we were at for me to do well, if I was going to do well.
How did you end up more like, you come out of Oklahoma, right? How'd you end up more like a Aaron Martins than a Tommy Biffle?
Well, I can flip too. I like to do that. It's just, it's real funny. I just feel like I can, I feel like I can do both. I can fish deep and shallow, and I feel so much better about finding offshore fish and going all in on an offshore bite when we go to a tournament like that, because I just feel like I'm going to find groups of fish, and I can work my way around all that stuff in a tournament and always be able to catch them pretty decent. Now, when they're on the bank and stuff like that, these guys that we fish against are so good, at shallow water fishing, and I just sometimes hate to go down the bank after somebody, and it's just a mental thing sometimes. I just feel a lot better about finding them offshore. And I've spent fair amount of time fishing offshore in Oklahoma, and Lake Tenkiller taught me how to drop shot.
What percentage of guys in Oklahoma, having grown up, would you say are comfortable offshore with a drop shot, 6-pound test, the braid leader, and all that? I mean, you grew up here, you've seen what it's like. Are there a lot of guys, in your opinion, or is it kind of a lost art in Oklahoma?
Oh man, I that's a hard question to answer. I'd say, there's a handful of guys that are really good finesse fishermen, being able to fish some of the clear water lakes in the eastern, part of the state, and the guys that have done that. But most of the time that doesn't really usually win a tournament around here, so that's really something you probably don't worry about too much. So I would imagine a lot of the really, really good fishermen that do really well around here, they don't do that a lot, so they're probably not going to be as good at it. But I imagine there's some guys around here that are really good at, throwing a Ned rig and a drop shot and a shaky head and stuff like that would do really, really well, in that scenario, clear water up north and stuff.
You just never hear of them because they're always finishing like 9th to 12th. Was there,
Jeffries,
when you were big into the Oklahoma scene, right? Wrapped bassoed boat, wrapped bassoed truck, jerseys. Was there a finesse guru of Oklahoma?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Not really.
I mean, would you not put Elam right now as the guy even rooms with 2 guys from Arizona who wake up in the morning spooning a spinning rod? In the past. It has.
Dude. I've seen it happen. Yeah, I've seen it happen.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is, would you not say, and don't be bashful to agree, that Elam is the finesse expert of Oklahoma?
No, I think he's dead on. And back in the day, there was a lot of guys that were renowned for shallow water tactics.
Right, but finesse was throwing the little brown jig on 12-pound test early in the spring, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, I get made fun of all the time in the Bass Nation because I'll have 2 spinning rods on the front deck. And they're like, well, what are you going to start bass fishing after you catch your limit of crappie?
Yeah, really. All right, James, let me ask you this. With the comment that you made earlier, do you think the offshore fish are getting beat up even more than some of the shallow water fish, because there seems to be a trend, not just in Oklahoma, but all across the country, and really targeting because of the electronics, because of the structure that exists, because people have had so much success with offshore elements. Do you think those fish are getting more beat up than the shallow water fish now?
Yeah, that's something I always think about, and it depends on every lake you're going to and every tournament, and every place you go to is different. So we went to Lake Chickamauga for an FLW Super Tournament a couple weeks ago, and those fish are super, super smart. They've all been fished for. They all know what a boat sounds like. They all know what an electronics sound like. They've seen all the baits, and that is something you have to consider going into that tournament. If you can find them shallow, 90% of the guys are going to be offshore, and you're probably, it's going to be the inverse of what it used to be. You're going to have the shallow water fish to yourself. I decided to fish offshore anyways. And it only takes, a good hour of the day to compile everything you need, or maybe 30 minutes. And I just feel like it's really efficient when you're throwing in front of a place and the fish are there the size of a building or something like that, and you're casting at them all day. You could sit there and you can throw 5 or 6, 7, 8 different things at them instead of moving around, not knowing if you're throwing in front of one for sure, going down the bank. But yeah, I think definitely there's been such a trend for people to fish offshore more that those fish are getting more pressured. It's just all about sometimes finding a little sneaky spot or 1 or 2 sneaky spots and kind of working your way around everything.
You mentioned they know what the electronics sound like. And this is something that I think we've kind of glossed over on the show in the past. We talk about all this. Mm-hmm. The first time I ever saw this was I was shooting a video in a boat at a Wahi. And the guy I was with was like, well, you can't idle over these fish because they hear the transducer and it terrifies them. And he's like, watch, we'll idle over this spot. Didn't see anything. He's like, now we won't idle over this spot. And he didn't even have his electronics on the front, and he dropped down and catch them every cast. And he said they're scared of that. Talk me through, and the average guy through, how that works and the noise that your transducer and electronics make through the water column, and how you have or haven't seen that affect your ability to get bit.
Well, so that's interesting you say that too. In some lakes, and Oahe is kind of a special place. You look at everyone differently, and those fish have a tendency to roam there pretty well, or pretty good. It's just a wide open, and they're on bait. They don't have gobies, so they follow this bait or bait wads around and stuff like that. So they don't mind moving if they have to. But also those guys fish for walleye a lot on that lake, and I think with all the trolling that they do, and just so much running back and forth on good places, and the smallmouth and walleye sometimes inhabit the same kind of areas. I wonder if that's got something to do with that in particular, and that's a particular thing to that lake. But I think I use Lowrance's, and so on the back units, I'll stop my pinging, of course, on the sonar, so I can see the sonar up front. I'll stop the pinging on the structure scan, which I don't know if structures. I think it's a different frequency, but I still you can hear it, so I turn it off when I'm fishing up front.
So that's at the console. So you're going to put it in standby.
Yeah.
So you say the frequency
standby.
at the back transducer affects affects your view of your graph at the front when you have the console and the bow mount running at the same time.
Yes, correct. So I'll turn that off no matter what, especially if I'm drop shotting or I'm going to sit on a deep place for a while and I want to see a fish under my boat if one appears. But actually, there's smart keys on the side of the Lowrance's, and you don't have to put them on standby. You can hit a smart key to stop the sonar, and I'll do that. I'll stop the sonar and I'll stop the structure scan for pinging on the dry steering wheel. And then when I get up front, a lot of times I'll stop the sonar and structure scan up there if I know where I'm at and I know there's fish there and they don't want to hear it. And sometimes that'll cool them down. And it can work inversely too, like especially with spotted bass. They kind of they're a curious fish, and so that's why a hydrowave works on them sometimes, or the noise from a trolling motor. And you'll see them rise up and come look at the locator or at the sonar and come back down, or they're looking at the boat or whatever they're doing. You'll see them bob up and down all the time. So sometimes it can be a good thing. Just to get them to show themselves. But yeah, that's something I'll definitely do is turn that stuff off. And almost always when I'm fishing in Florida, a lot of times I won't run a sonar, up shallow.
But like Nichols on Grand 300 boats, you've got it lined up on the bank. You know where the brush pile is. Are you turning off your electronics there? Are you just having your mapping, or are you going to just go ahead and do that? I mean, do you think it makes a difference on a Chickamauga, the TVA lakes, Oklahoma lakes, like this time of the year? Like we're fishing Thunderbird. I know where the brush piles are with Mark. Yep. Like, should I turn all my crap off? You think I'll get more bites like that?
Well, I wouldn't know the direct answer to that, but it's something that I would try, especially if I was a local on the lake and I fish it all the time like you do there. I would experiment with that and see if you thought it made a difference, and maybe it was a good day, maybe it's a bad day, so you'll never really know. But over time, you'll probably develop, some kind of, you'll learn something that will tell you whether that matters or not. And some lakes it will, some lakes it might not. So, a lake like that, it is kind of pressure, and where the brush is at, and you might try just turning the stuff off, and it might make a difference, and you might catch like a bigger one or maybe two more than you would have or something like that. And I imagine you only probably catch 2 or 3 out of a pile at the most, but that's just a guess.
One if you're lucky.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I want to talk real quick, and then we'll take a break and come back, and hopefully we'll have some questions here from the fans. From a business perspective, one of your sponsors, an Oklahoma company, Daylight Donuts, they're all over the state, based in Tulsa. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about, and is Mr. Bond still involved with the company?
Yeah, so, Jason, the son, he's heavily involved. He's president of the company. I had some good friends, from the area that were, friends with them, and the Bonds always fished. They fished the Nichols and the Skeeters and stuff like that, and they just love fishing. So it was more the thing, that they wanted to support. They wanted to support me when I took out on, fishing professionally, and it's just always been a good deal for both of us. And I just really thank them for the support and everything. And they just have a lot of interest and a lot of love for the sport, and that's what's most important. And got to thank them for supporting me.
I just want to clarify. There is a difference between Jason Bonds from Texas, who's like buddies with all those guys down there, and Jason Bond from Tulsa, right? Not the same person. Okay.
Yes. That is correct.
Does Jason still fish?
I think a little bit. He takes his daughters. It's one of those deals. He's so busy that I don't think he, really gets after it like he used to. Fishing all the time. He used to fish team tournaments pretty seriously. I would say 10 years ago. Maybe about 10 years ago. But he's got his family and stuff now, and he's got a big business to take care of. So. I think they do a lot of fun fishing and go out when they can. And John loves to crappie fish, and he loves to do all the fun stuff that we wish we could all the time. But he hunts, fishes. He's got I think he had the record spoonbill on Grand Lake there for some time, and maybe he still does. But he does all the fun little stuff besides bass fishing also. But they're really good fishermen.
Here's the thing too, Matt. This is a company, Daylight Donuts, that were heavily involved in supporting local fishing.
Yeah.
For years and years and years and years. I mean, 30, 35 years ago, they were involved in this. But the progression of sponsoring tournament trails, sponsoring local anglers, and then sponsoring a national professional in James is very, very cool to see the involvement that local companies have, which, I mean, their brand is somewhat regional, but at the same time, they're helping out and supporting James from a national perspective.
Well, they had a deal, like 5-6 years ago, where you could get like a Daylight Donut spinnerbait, and it actually said like Daylight Donuts on the blade. And if you caught a fish or something, there was some deal, it was like a lake record or the biggest fish or something like that. Like you got like a lot of cash for it if you could prove that you caught it on the Daylight Donut spinnerbait. Do you remember that, James?
I don't know if I do. How long ago was that?
I
don't
know.
Local thing?
It was a single Colorado blade painted blue, and it had the Daylight Donuts logo on it. And it was like a local contest. You could pick up the spinnerbaits in the Daylight Donuts, and then if you caught it on that spinnerbait, like with a photo evidence of it, and I think it might have been like a lake record or something like that, you got like,
it's kind of a cool idea.
It was either like donuts for life or $1,000 or something like that. I don't remember that, but that was the premise of the whole thing. I remember that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Very, very cool. All right, man.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. I think it was probably about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
Before we go to break and we're talking about regional, what was the story again with that smallmouth you caught out of Eufaula? It was like what? 12 pounder? It was right off the world record?
Yeah.
4-pound test drop shot in the bridge?
No, actually that was on big line. But it was right when they it was on spring break. I remember I was in college, probably my sophomore year of college or something like that, and that's back when you were fishing too a lot, for OU, and I was going to OSU at the time. But the weather was right to go chase the smallies at Eufaula, and there's some big ones there. And there's not a ton of them, but the states stock those Tennessee River strain, and I caught an 8.1 and it weighed 8.1 and a half on the department scales. And the state came out and weighed it. And at the time, I think 8.3 was the state record. So it was really close. And it was definitely one worth weighing and trying to see if that was the record at the time. And the record was out of Eufaula at the time. So it was not the lake record either. But that was just an awesome fish. And I caught like a 6 that day and a 5.5 or a 6.5 and a 5. And then, some 3s. And then, I took my dad back. We went probably a couple years later, and he got a 7. So it was a lot of fun. It was a fun day, man. It was just one of those perfect deals. Everything's got to be perfect to trick a big one like that.
Wait, so you had a 26+ pound bag of smallmouth out of Oklahoma?
Definitely. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I didn't realize those are I knew they looked a little different. I didn't realize that those were the Tennessee strain smallmouth. So that's why they. Yeah. That's why they like that shallow, dirty water sometimes.
Well, they can definitely survive,
Yeah.
and I think they're still sight feeders. Definitely, you can tell, and they still have a lot of the same tendencies. But what's funny is it's like you go up north, and those northern smallmouth they like it when it's things are normal. You got a south wind, system, and it's sunny, and just a little breeze. They love that. Here, they like the nastiest day you can get. And for whatever reason, I don't know, but maybe the sunlight hurts their eyes or something. I always call them vampires because they just, seem to really like the nasty dark days.
Yeah, I remember one time in October, I got on a flat in Longtown, and I broke 3 War Eagle spinner baits in half on smallmouth. We landed 2 of them, and we hooked 6.
Wow.
I mean, like, broke them.
Yeah.
Just boom. I mean, just abs, and it was like 1.5 feet deep.
They're vicious.
It was crazy.
Vicious. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back with more with James Elam. Everybody stay tuned.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only the rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim-On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body, but with ribs to give it a bigger profile, but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a grate for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back with our special guest, Mr. James Elam. Tomorrow, Miles Burkhoff. And it's been a while since he's been on the show, Matt, so don't give me any grief.
Well, he made that cameo. Made that cameo prior to the Chickamauga event, or during the Chickamauga event, where he said that he made a top 10 just for you, Mark.
Yeah.
President of the Miles Burkhoff fan club.
So we'll get him on tomorrow. All right, James. We have obviously ties to the state of Oklahoma, being based in Oklahoma. But one thing that I like to ask the Oklahoma guys is, when you travel across the country, is there anything particular that you have learned from fishing the lakes in the state of Oklahoma that really helps you out? Number one, in finding fish. Number two, in applying and putting your strategy together to really put the game plan on what your success is going to be. In other words, the prep work that takes place, obviously depending on the body of water and everything, but the experience, the knowledge that you have gained in the state of Oklahoma, how much does that help you when it comes to getting ready for tournaments across the nation?
Well, I would definitely say that, Oklahoma has been really good for me, helping me pattern fish and maybe understand the overall big picture. And, in Oklahoma, it's all about what's going on in nature, and it's like you can make a calendar, and for 2 weeks, the bass are doing this, and then they're fading out of this into the next thing. And that happens everywhere, everywhere you go across the U.S. And another thing is the weather in Oklahoma is a really big deal, and you got to fish the weather. And that prepares you, for inclement weather, other places you go during a tournament, and it makes you adjust better and make good decisions. And so I would say those two things: pattern fishing and looking for the overall thing of what's going on. With what 90% of the bass are doing, or 75% of the population are doing, and that's really, what you want to focus on pretty hard. And also just being able to deal with wind, storms, weather changes, pressure changes, stuff like that. Big deal here. And that helps you, other places. Now, the inverse of that would be, I don't know, I didn't know how to fish grass really well when I started fishing across the country. And that's something that I really had to learn and still trying to get better at. But that's one place where I was definitely, not prepared to do that, because we don't have a lot of grass in Oklahoma, especially where I fish, northeast Oklahoma, or where I grew up fishing.
What has your performance been like in Texas? Texas obviously has a lot of grass, a lot of offshore stuff, Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend. What are your thoughts on Texas lakes?
It's been decent, and my thoughts on Texas lakes. I always say Texas is probably the best bass fishing state, and if you definitely want to just go catch big ones in the spring and stuff like that, it's really hard to beat. You can go to Florida, but you might get good days in a week. In Texas, you're just every day is usually good, unless you get a hard north front. But I've done decent on Texas lakes. I've also had some. I've never really bombed there, but I've had a lot of, like, in a 100-boat field, I might have a 60th to 50th place finish for sure. But I've had a lot of good finishes there. I think I've made it. I made at least one top, final day in Texas, and I know I got like 12th at Rayburn, or at Toledo Bend the last time I went there, and caught a huge bag like the second day of the tournament. I've had a lot of good neighbors and had a lot of fun in Texas every time we've been. I've caught a 9. The biggest tournament bass I've ever caught, like a 9.6, came out of Lake Travis when we went there probably 3 years ago. So I've just had a lot of good luck in Texas, and you just catch bigger fish there.
Yeah, but Lake Travis is like a West Coast lake, which there goes right back into Elam's finesse fishing prowess.
Yeah. What about the TVA lakes and bodies of water? What are your thoughts on those?
I've done decent there. About the same. If we go in the summer, I love to fish. I actually, before Chickamauga, we had a Bass Pro Tour tournament. I don't remember where it was at. I think it's Florida. And so I went and hung out, me and Bertrand and Roy Hawk. We went up to Pickwick, because we didn't have really enough time to go home. So we'd never fished Pickwick before, and it's supposed to be the best ledge lake. So what better place to go learn? And in June too. So we went there, and I had a blast fishing it and finding schools and just learning, and watching what they do when they crank the current up, and just the different baits they hit, and just little things you learn. But I really like the TVA legs. I've done well on them. I'd say I've done better on them track record wise than maybe the Texas legs. But also I've only probably had about 4 tournaments out there. So.
All right, Florida. Thoughts on Florida?
Florida.
Turn your electronics off, Mark.
Yeah.
No pinging.
Yeah,
no pinging.
Turn your yes.
Learned that
so
earlier
the
today.
biggest thing, the biggest thing with those Florida fish is they're real spooky, and so that takes, just it's all about finding the area in Florida. So there's a huge lake like Okeechobee, and they're going to be in a little bitty spot, the size of a front yard or like an acre area, and it's all about knowing what you're dealing with when you go to a lake, and just knowing that going into it really helps. You cover ground until you get bites. And then when you catch a 3-pounder, that tells you that's a good area. And, hopefully you catch a 3, and that tells, that they tell you that they're living there. But it's all about finding those areas. And, Florida's kind of been hit and miss for me. I did really well there this year at Okeechobee. And I've done well in some tournaments there, but I've also done bad in some. I'd say I've had more good ones than bad ones there. But it's totally, when I go to Florida, I'm prepared to get last place, and I think that's probably about how everybody is, and that can happen to anybody there.
You qualified for the Elite Series after 3 opens. I mean, you fished some college, fished a lot around locally, then 3 opens, and boom, you were on the Elite Series. And it seems, I remember covering it because obviously you were roomed with Chip your first rookie year there, but it seemed like it took you like 3 or 4. Probably about 3 or 4 years to really kind of get your feet under yourself and start having the top 20s. I don't think you had a top 10 in the first 3 years that you were on the Elite Series. But just kind of walk through that process of going from good angler, respected collegiately around Oklahoma, to now I'm on the Elite Series and I have to figure out this process of going to all these new bodies of water. How long did it take you to get confident in yourself and comfortable and develop a system to where, like, you could say, oh yeah, we stopped at Pickwick, we figured it out, we caught him on the ledges, it was a great day? I mean, there's a lot of people that are watching this that are like, man, it's just so forward, and they watch you on the BPT now, and it's like, well, yeah, Elam's been around for 10 years, but I mean, that's a big growing process that you went through to develop a system, right?
Yeah, and just to start off with, it is not easy. And one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, definitely, is just try to break through as a professional angler. It doesn't really matter how good you are either. It just because you're going to go places and be out of your comfort zone, and you got to make decisions on your own, and it's really, really tough. And definitely, I think when you see the 3-year, process, I definitely got better probably after 3 years. It finally clicked, because I'd been full circle a couple times, and I got to, I'd been to California, then I've been to Florida, been Texas, been up north. I got to see a lot of different fisheries, and I got to see, it's one thing to read about it, it's one thing to watch it, but when you live it and go learn the lessons the hard way on your own, then it's when you really learn, and it sinks in. And, all that really helps you. You just got to try to learn from it as much as you can. And I'll write down notes of, after every tournament, where even, to this day, where I think I went, what I did good and what I did bad, and what I need to take away from it to get better. And in the off season, I'll focus on, the things I need to do to get better. And you see those things after you fish a tournament and compete in it and get your butt kicked, and you see how it happened. And you see where you went wrong. And so I've tried to focus on that a lot. And, it's real tough, and it's also a fun challenge at the same time. But definitely feel a lot more confident, when I go somewhere, because I just know what to do and what not to do for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And the things to focus on. And it's just a big bunch of that's confidence too,
Mm-hmm.
because you have lived it.
So compare the first 3 years to your last 3 years. Like, what percentage of the time would you be like, have an hour left to practice the first 3 years and be like, I am going to get my ass kicked. What the hell am I doing out here?
Mm-hmm.
Where is everybody? I am lost. And then what percentage of you had that feeling in your last 3 years in the last hour of practice?
He didn't like that question.
He's back.
Okay, he's back. We think he's back. No, he's not back. He went away.
Am I back? Somebody.
You're kind of back. Yeah, you're back. Did you hear the question?
All right. Yes, I did. Comparing the first three to the second.
Percentage of time felt completely lost out of your league.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and I'll try to answer this with, kind of in my own way. But, a big difference in, my performance now, or the third to the sixth year versus the first to the third, would be decision making. I was finding maybe the right things and the right places and practicing hard and all that stuff the first 3 years. But in my mind, I wasn't going out on tournament day and executing or making the right decisions or saying, hey, this is what you needed to go, this is what you need to stick to, and don't, this and this, and that, everything else is okay. And if you do that, you're going to have a good tournament. You're going to have as good a shot as anybody, and I could tell myself that, whereas before I couldn't, because I didn't have the experience. And it was just more hit and miss. And I had some decent tournaments the first couple of years, just not many. But at the end of the day, I wasn't very far off every time. And I knew that and I just needed to make little adjustments. And it was a confidence issue, probably, of knowing in your head is one of the biggest things going into a tournament, knowing what to go do and knowing that's the thing. Or at least knowing it's a thing for yourself to have a good tournament. I would say that was probably the biggest hurdle and the biggest difference in between year 1 through 3 and versus 3 through 6, is making the little decisions. And when you're probably would have had an 80th, 90th place finish or whatever it is, you turn it into a 45th. And that's a big deal when you weren't supposed to have a good tournament, and you can gain 55 points and walk away and go to the next tournament, do what, scrounge around and make smart decisions to live by.
So to put a bow on this then, for the listeners and me, I'm asking some of these questions for me too.
Yeah.
The only way to get from that point A to point B, because there's a lot of people going, okay, well, I have that feeling, and you're like, just explained how you got through it, which was confidence, but you develop that confidence through time on the water and making decisions. Yeah. And then the more decisions that you make, then you start to understand how you make the good decisions, and then you trust your gut. But it all comes back to time on the water and putting yourself in that awkward situation where you have to make the decision. And then, like you said, analyzing the decision that you made, and then it starts to become second nature the more and more and more and more that you do it. And that's how you progress as an angler. Fair assessment?
Yes, that's exactly right. And there's no cut in the system, no cheat in the system.
What's a worst decision you believe you have made in your career as an angler? Is there a tournament where you look back on it and you say, what the hell was I thinking there? I'm just curious, like you were on the deal and you left, or you were like, I should go do that, and then you talked yourself out of it or something. But do you have one where you just look back and go, I can't believe I made that decision?
A lot of I don't have anything that sticks out like a sore thumb, like you're saying. I bet I do if I sit down and thought about it enough, but I try to forget, all that negative stuff. But sometimes it'll stick with you. But I've had some tournaments where I just completely just didn't do something in practice. And by the time you figure it out too late in practice, you haven't found enough of it. And that's happened a lot. So the quicker you can get on them, the better. But looking back at a tournament and seeing where you went wrong happens, and it happens a lot. But I don't have any one scenario. There's been probably about 3 different times where I found winning fish, and you have to share those with somebody, and it turns out not to be winning fish then. But you just think, man, if any one of those times, you just got to keep knocking on the door, and it'll happen for you.
All right, man. Got to know. I know you're busy during the fall and really this time going forward, but any chance you might fish the Wednesday nighter, Thursday nighter at Keystone, or whatever night it is? What night is it, Matt?
I think it's like the Monday or Tuesday. There's a couple guys who have that on lock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you fish that?
It's like...
Yeah. No, they had one last night because I talked to a guy that was going to it. The local Phoenix dealer here, and or well, not super local to here, but Tulsa area, Skytook, Bill's Marine. Talked to the manager there last night, and he was headed there to fish and fishing with one of my buddies I didn't know he's friends with, but they I don't know how they did, but it's pretty competitive from what I hear. A lot of these guys that live around here fishing. I've been on Keystone probably 2 times since January, since we moved in here, which is pretty sad. There's been so much work to do here. We've got all kinds of stuff to do. We've got animals and whatnot now. So I really spend most of my time getting ready for tournaments and prepping for tournaments. But I'll get some chances, to go out this fall. And it's a good crappie lake, so I'll probably do some crappie fishing and have a little fun there. But that was the intention moving here, so I'd be able to fish a lot easier, dump the boat in. I've got a boat ramp a quarter mile away, so it's good. It's good for that.
Very cool. All right, man. Well, can't thank you enough for taking time out, and just a really, really impressive performance to get you into the Red Crest at Grand Lake coming up here soon.
Thank you.
And wish you the best for the remainder of the season, man.
I appreciate it, and it's going to be good for all of us having a Red Crest in Oklahoma. Hopefully, we'll have a big show. We've got, the Expo Center, this time, so we're going to have a big Expo show, and I think it'll be a really awesome event and great for the Tulsa area, great for everybody that lives around here, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm lucky that I get to be a part of the fishing too. So I'm stoked, and thanks for having me on, guys. And we'll have to do it again.
All right, man. Take care, dude.
All right. See you guys.
See you. There you have it, James Elam. And just a clutch performance, man. How many times do we see that? Not just in fishing, but in other individual sports where you have to have that performance to make it to a championship or to get your PGA Tour card or whatever the case is. And that's pretty impressive to see the performance that exists when the pressure is on.
He's the perfect example, and go look at his James Elam Bassmaster. Click on it, click on all tournaments, right? Scroll all the way down to 2012, then slowly start scrolling up and looking at the finishes. And what I didn't know we were going to go down that path of the progression and becoming an established pro,
Yeah.
but he's been doing it at like a decade now. And you hear I listened to the BPT and stuff, and they just talk about him like, oh, established pro James Elam, blah, blah, blah. He's good there. No. And you look at the progression of his finishes, from bombs, tanks, to mid, to consistent top tens, to vying for egg. I mean, and it's really impressive because the guy just put his head down and went to work. Very positive guy, stays with, Roy Hawk and Josh Bertrand. Like, you would probably stay with them for a week and not hear a single negative thing. Like, there's no, this lake sucks, or I can't catch. Like, it's just like positive vibes. Like, even Roy's had like the worst 2 years of his career. We had him on. The guy is like the most positive guy ever. Same thing with Josh Bertrand.
Yeah.
Those guys are just positive vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Zell Rowland would walk in and be like, this is the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good
dude,
good
man.
stuff on how to become a pro, and he's got a kick-ass career now.
Yeah.
He's making money, buying farms, living on the lake.
He's got the barrel racing thing going on too. I didn't know there was a connection. Seriously, when I go to book these shows, I am not taking into consideration everything else that's going on these guys' lives when it comes to barrel racing. You're saying the last few guests here, there's been a barrel racing connection.
Yeah, so
I'm not trying to do that.
Brian Robinson's wife is a professional barrel racer and raises
Yeah.
barrel horses. And then Larry Nixon's daughter does the barrel racing circuit here. And then his girlfriend, Sam, runs against Kinder and with Kinder and like their friends and stuff too.
Yeah.
They're at all the same barrel races.
What about Miles?
I don't think so. I have drank a few beers with Elam while we sat and watched the
Barrel races?
Barrel races, yeah.
All right.
You gotta bring a 6-pack to those things. It's like a 6-pack and a lawn chair.
Well, it's just so quick. I mean, what, 18 seconds? Is that it?
Oh no, I mean it depends on the pattern, but you don't understand. It's the process. You have to get there, and then sometimes they want to get there earlier to see what the ground looks like, and then
for 18 seconds though, right?
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah, heck, at least you're not a breakaway roper. That's 3 seconds.
Ooh.
Yeah, you miss your calf and your
one
toast.
shot, one chance. That's it.
Oh yeah, you do the whole thing. You drive different states. You back it in. You give them the head nod. Comes out. You miss them with that. Well, it's the same thing with team roping.
That's it. You're done.
Listen, you could be a healer in team roping, right? This is mind blowing because I always said I could never understand. Like, if you're a good wide receiver in football, you bust your ass. You're in the weight room. You work 365 days a year. You're this, and then the better you are. Like, typically, the less you get targeted sometimes also because you got double teams on you and stuff.
Yeah.
You're running routes and you might have viable, catchable balls like, 4 to 8 a game?
Yeah, we broke this down
times 10 games, which is... And then in the clutch, you've got, like, 20 balls headed your way that you've got a shot at with a game where it's... That's a lot of work for 20 times.
Yeah.
So think about this. You're a healer, right? Which is where the calf goes, or the steer calf, whatever, goes out of the gate. The header catches it around the head, drags it, and then the healer gets the back 2 legs. They tighten the rope. Flag goes down. That's your time. So you travel all around all these things. You pay your entry fee, $100-something bucks. You're on all the points. It's all based on money earned. Your header goes out, misses the head. You literally take 2 strides out of it, got your rope going, and you're done. That's it. You're done. You're going home.
And you get one chance.
You don't even get to throw the rope if the header misses.
You don't get a replay.
No, you don't get nothing.
Rerun,
You're
whatever.
done. You just come out, you circle back, you take the saddle off, and you go to the next one.
All right. There you have it.
At least in fishing, you get to like grovel in your mediocrity for 8 hours. Like, you get to at least ride around the arena and lament the fact that you missed. They're like, nope, thanks for coming
Can
out.
you throw the rope?
No, I can't.
Have you
do
tried?
that. No.
You've never tried?
No, it's like, that would be like asking someone who has never picked up a rod and reel if they can skip a bait caster.
Okay.
It just is not going to happen.
Hours and hours and months and days and weeks of practice.
It's like Robinson said, it's very parallel to tournament fishing.
Okay.
As far as preparation, confidence, practice, the whole 9 yards. And it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of guys who just go in and do the Wednesday night jackpot. They have those, too.
All right, real quick, I want to let everybody know with the back-to-back weeks with the Elite Series, correct, Matthew? This week and next week.
What kind of comment is that? In Oklahoma, y'all say crappie. When you go to the bathroom, do you say, I have to take a crop?
All right, onward. Back-to-back weeks, right? You're a little entertaining yourself over there.
What'd you say?
Back-to-back weeks, correct?
For what?
The Elite Series.
Yes. No. Yes. No. I think there's a week in between.
They got a week in between?
Hold on. July.
With all the
no,
changes.
it's back to back.
Okay, it's back to back.
Lawrence and Champlain, yeah.
All right, here's what we're going to try and do for next week's shows. We'll try to have the winner on, or if he is unavailable, somebody that finished in the high, top 5, top 6, whatever we can get to talk about what went down this week. And then we will try to do the same thing that we're going to do tomorrow. I don't know if they have an off day next week or not. We'll try to get somebody on with Miles tomorrow because tomorrow, is it an off day, Matt?
It says July 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th. So that's 23rd, which means we need to start on a Wednesday. But they still have the Oneida on here. I should have done
I don't know.
homework.
We'll work it out. The bottom line is we'll do everything we can to get these guys that are in New York over the next couple of weeks on BTL and go from there.
They have a very hopeful tournament information tab.
All right. That's kind of the plan on next week.
23rd
and
through the
tomorrow.
26th. And then the next tournament starts on the 30th.
So, yeah, it's back to back.
Yeah, so they must have a day off tomorrow. And then 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th.
All right, we'll
then
do
they
our
practice
homework.
27th, 28th, 29th, and then start.
We'll do our homework. We'll do our homework. But anyway, we'll have Miles on tomorrow and hopefully get somebody on if it is their day off to kind of give us a rundown on what we can expect this week on the SLR. All right, anything else, Matthew?
No, I think we covered it all. We got the changes, and big thanks to James Elam.
Yeah,
he
good
went
stuff.
in depth there.
Great stuff. So everybody out there, try and stay cool. Mark is at Lake Tahoe. It was 79,
honeymoon?
Yeah, 79 degrees.
Is that
Beautiful.
the one you fly over on the way to? I've flown over Lake Tahoe.
To Sacramento, maybe?
Yeah, and then on the way up to Alaska, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool place. Very cool place. Very expensive, though. All right, that's it, everybody. We will be back tomorrow with Miles Burkhoff and hopefully an Elite Series guest tomorrow on the show. Everybody be safe. Stay cool. That's it. We're out of here.